dialogue.
It's midday in Dakar. Good afternoon and many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and around the world on wadr.org. This is NewsLink. Here are the top stories. The Nigerian junta leader, General Chani, authorizes military support from Mali and Burkina Faso in anticipation of ECOWAS intervention. A Burkinabe regional governor orders civil servants who fled violent extremism in the Sahel to return, citing heavy security presence. Ghana's government announces increased border patrol due to an upsurge in terrorist activities in the region.
The ECOWAS sub-region is still troubled by acts of terrorism and political instability. In the response of this, the Ghana Immigration Service continues to strengthen operational protocols, especially along the borders, to ensure security of the nation's border.
And Côte d'Ivoire's electoral umpire flags off a week-long campaign period for the September 2 twin elections across the country. Stay with us for details of these stories and more.
Here is Tawfiq Abdul Nasser with NewsLink.
Many thanks for joining us and a warm welcome to our listeners in Ghana, Liberia and the Gambia. Let's begin in Niger this afternoon as the junta issues authorization to the Malian and Burkinabe armies to deploy troops in the country should ECOWAS consider the use of force to restore constitutional rule. The development was announced in a joint statement by the collaborating countries on Thursday after a meeting of foreign ministers of the trio in the Nigerian capital, Niamey, to discuss security cooperation and other joint issues. The statement said the ministers welcomed the signing by Niger's junta leader, General Abdurrahman Chani, of two orders authorizing the defense and security forces of Burkina Faso and Mali to intervene on Nigerian territory in the event of an attack. Unsurprising, analysts have described the latest move by the National Council for the Safeguard of Homeland CNSP as a deliberate attempt to continuously resist diplomatic pressure, especially from the regional bloc ECOWAS. Recall, the two coup states, Mali and Burkina Faso, had both declared that any escalation that risk further destabilizing the Sahelian country is an act of war. Still on the Nigerian crisis, President Bola Tinubu of Nigeria has given approval for the return of the Islamic clerics delegation to Niamey for another round of dialogue with the coup leaders. President Tinubu's consent came after a meeting with the top clerics led by Sheikh Dahiru Bauchi, who 2 weeks ago visited Niger. During their visit, they made contact and held discussions with the CNSP led by self-declared President General Abdurrahman Chani after a few failed diplomatic missions, including from ECOWAS. WADR's Usman Umar in Abuja reports.
The Nigerian president made the decision in his capacity as the chairperson of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS. Mohammed Idris, Nigeria's Minister of Information and National Orientation, addressed State House correspondents after the meeting with the top clerics.
The Council of Ulamas have returned to the President for the second time to give a report on their ongoing dialogue with the military junta and other stakeholders in Niger Republic. Mr. President is interested in exploring peaceful options in this, but nothing is off the table. He has asked the Ulamas to continue their dialogue, and they will continue to do that.
Sheikh Abdullahi Balalaw, the national chairman of the Jama'atul Izalatul Bid'ah wa Iqamatul Sunnah, one of the largest Islamic sects in Nigeria and parts of Africa, who is part of the delegation, had this to say.
We are still going back there to ensure that through amicable way, through peaceful way, as spiritual leaders, we'll be able to do and contribute what we can be able to do. What we want is we don't want war. We want peace to reign in our region.
Niger, hit by sanctions imposed by ECOWAS since the coup on July 26, also faces imminent military intervention should all diplomatic means of resolving the political impasse fail. Opposed to the reinstatement of President Mohamed Bazoum, leader of the CNSP, General Chiani, has proposed a 3-year transition plan, a proposal strongly rejected by the West African bloc. According to analysts, the clerics who first made contact with the junta leaders after several failed missions hold a significant advantage in leading the mediation talks. For NewsLink on West Africa Democracy Radio, Usman Omar reporting from Abuja.
Meanwhile, the Ghanaian government says it is embarking on significant initiatives to strengthen its border security in response to the rising insecurity within the sub-region. Ghana's Deputy Minister of Interior, Nana Kwanzaa, announced this development during the passing out parade of new recruits at the Immigration Service Mid-Country Training School. This training aims to equip the Ghana Immigration Service with a competent workforce capable of effectively managing Ghana's border towns. From Accra, Atiwin Mbilalosin completes the story.
The increasing insecurity in the West Africa sub-region has prompted Ghana to build the capabilities of its immigration service to ensure the safety and well-being of citizens. Deputy Interior Minister Nana Kwanzaa stressed the importance of these recruitment and training programs in the wake of the Niger coup, which has led to a surge in insecurity.
The ECOWAS sub-region is still troubled by acts of terrorism and political instability. In the response of this, the Ghana Immigration Service continues to strengthen operational protocols, especially along the borders, to ensure security of the nation's border.
In another development, the Deputy Minister of Defense, Kweku Amankwa-Menu, has issued a cautionary advisory to Ghanaian traders. He has advised against traveling to Niger for business purposes due to safety concerns, as the government cannot guarantee the safety of Ghanaian traders in Niger.
A soldier in Ghana cannot wear uniform and go to Burkina and behave like a soldier. It doesn't work like that. Once it is outside the jurisdiction of this country, it becomes difficult, especially with all the noise in the sub-region. Because Niger itself, I don't think almost the citizens of Niger themselves are now safe.
Reporting for NewsLink on West Africa Democracy Radio, I am Atiewin Imbila Lawson in Accra.
Fresh and breaking news all the time. Hear it first as the news breaks, only on West Africa Democracy Radio. NewsLink continues.
In Burkina Faso, the governor of the Sahel region has called on civil servants who fled their post and the region due to insecurity to return home. Lieutenant Colonel Rudolph Sogo cited the presence of security operatives and the gradual return of normalcy for the request. However, several civil society organizations and youth groups who alleged that the situation in the Sahel region is still deplorable strongly reject this call. Ogeobi Erika has more in this report.
The Burkinabe Army officer invited the regional directors of public services in the Sahel to make all necessary arrangements for the return of those concerned. Lieutenant Colonel Rodolphe Sogo said this measure aims to optimize the operation of the services. He also called on the regional directors of the Sahel to impose sanctions in accordance with the laws in force against adamant employees. During the recent International Youth Day, young people from the Sahel region recommended the return of civil service executives who deserted their post due to the deterioration of the security situation. Reacting to this announcement, Secretary General of the Regional Youth Council of the Sahel region, Hamas Sidi, described the province as plagued by terrorist threats and almost impossible to live. Sidi expressed concerns about the safety of the population under the current atmosphere. Since 2015, Burkina Faso has been facing an unprecedented security crisis that has claimed more than 1,000 lives, including civilians and security operatives, and displaced more than 2 million others.
Ogeobi Erika filed that report. And now to some electoral matters. Today marks the start of the electoral campaign period for over 35,000 candidates in Côte d'Ivoire's twin elections scheduled for September 2, 2023. The election house notes that the campaign for votes by the qualified candidates ends on August 31, days before the ballot. Here is Imoredet with more.
Côte d'Ivoire's Independent Electoral Commission said beginning today, August 25, qualified candidates in the regional and municipal elections have 7 days to campaign for votes. The September 2 twin electoral exercise has 30,419 registered candidates for the municipal ballot and 5,247 registered candidates for the regional elections. Ibrahim Akulibale Cubet, president of the CEI, during a press briefing explained that the electoral campaign comprises two essential elements. First, all the candidates to present their manifesto and to allow the population to vote decisively for their candidate of choice. On Thursday, the candidates went to the mediator of the Republic to sign the Election Peace Pact, which encourages a violence-free ballot. Adama Tungara is Côte d'Ivoire's mediator.
I think all the candidates in this election are committed to maintaining peace through the signing of a charter that urges us to cultivate tolerance and courtesy in our speeches during election campaigns, to banish any act or other behavior likely to undermine social cohesion. The candidates favored the cross-checks provided for in the electoral legislation list to exhume any possible disagreement.
For his part, the president of the institution in charge of organizing the elections urged the candidates to conduct peaceful campaigns.
Imoredet reporting there. You are listening to NewsLink on West Africa Democracy Radio 94.9 FM Dakar. Here is a reminder of our top stories. The Nigerian junta leader General Chani authorizes military support from Mali and Burkina Faso in anticipation of ECOWAS intervention. A Burkinabe regional governor orders civil servants who fled violent extremism in the Sahel to return, citing heavy security presence. Ghana's government announces increased border patrol due to an upsurge in terrorist activities in the region, and Côte d'Ivoire's electoral umpire flags off a week-long campaign period for the September 2 twin elections across the country. Still ahead is the guest interview and sports update. Stay tuned.
West Africa Democracy Radio. It's you speaking.
Elsewhere, the inclusive dialogue chaired by facilitators in Guinea to review a new declaration over the appointment of district chiefs and representatives continues. But despite the decision by the facilitators to review the format, they stand little chance of resolving the matter as they proposed to listen to all the stakeholders. A platform that brings together political coalitions and civil society umbrella organizations has decided not to take part in the ongoing consultations. The platform believes the facilitators are no longer credible interlocutors for resolving the dispute and rather demand a meeting with the transitional authorities to assess the level of implementation of the conclusions of the 2022 political dialogue. Marty C. has more in this report by WADR's Conakry correspondent Cherno Alpha Ibrahim Abalde.
In recent days, the facilitators of the Inter-Guinean political dialogue have been active, even changing their approach to give current mediation on the issue of appointing district chiefs a chance to succeed. But to no avail, the 18 political coalitions and evil social umbrella organizations have decided to shun these consultations. Mohamed Lamine Kaba is the president of the AZ coalition.
First of all, the need for the political parties and civil society organizations to meet together with the facilitators is not sufficiently motivated. No political party or civil society organization has contacted the facilitators to express its disapproval of the president's decree. This not being the case, we see no reason for the meeting. We believe that the solution to our problem lies with the transitional authorities, that is, the executive, and not with the facilitators, either separately or as a group.
The COPAD political coalition, led by Dr. Usman Kaba, did not reject the hand extended by the facilitators but criticized the decree issued by the president of the transition, Colonel Mamadou Doumbouya. Abubakar Kaba is the head of communications for the Economic Development Project for the Southern region.
We are a political party that has opted for dialogue because we believe that dialogue can solve all our problems. At this precise moment, it will be difficult for me to tell you exactly what our position is, but what is certain is that discussions are underway and they will be informed very soon. But what we must deplore is going against democracy. We know that democracy is at the core. We know that democracy is at the grassroots level. We must give the people at the grassroots the responsibility of choosing their leader, and this was one of the conclusions of the dialogue.
National Council of Civil Society Organizations. It is currently holding consultations with its ranks with a view to adopting a final position on the issue of appointing district issue.
A report by WADR's Conakry correspondent Cherno Alpha Ibrahim Balde and voiced by Marty C. Now, Gambia's President Adama Barrow has conferred the nation's highest national award on the commander of the ECOWAS mission in the country for his outstanding role. A Senegalese Major Abdoulaye Camara of ECOMIG was honored with the insignia of the Commander of the Order of the Republic of the Gambia by President Barrow as his mission came to an end. The Gambian leader was full of praises for the outstanding soldier for his dedication to serving the Gambia. Our Banjul correspondent Sankule Janko reports.
Commander Abdoulaye Camara, a Senegalese soldier, served the Gambia as a detachment commander of ECOMIG at the State House and principal protection officer to President Barrow since 2017. Speaking at the farewell ceremony held in State House, President Barrow expressed admiration for Major Camara, who he said had served him and the Gambia with honor and tact. He described bidding farewell to Major Camara as difficult, having bonded so well during the period.
Major Camara has been a professional officer, good at command, an excellent mind, and a good character. He has been a remarkable and conversable member of the presidential technical team.
Barrow also thanked President Macky Sall of Senegal for deploying the departing major to the Gambia. In a citation read by Secretary to Cabinet Aliou Ndiaye, Major Camara had selflessly served and promoted harmony between the ECOMIG contingent and the Gambia Security Service. Professionalism, respect, and integrity were some of the values he instilled in his team, Ndiaye said. Meanwhile, in his outgoing speech, Major Abdoulaye Camara applauded the Gambian head of state for creating a conducive environment for him to serve.
It will be difficult for me to thank the president because I can't thank him enough. If I shall talk about all the good things about him, his kindness, we will spend the entire day here. Nobody will work with this president and underrate him. For me, he is not only a president, he is an elder. He is like a parent to me, and I wish him well.
Camara equally thanked the security services of the Gambia for the smooth cooperation throughout his service. He is expected to return to Senegal to continue serving his country. For NEWSLINK-25 West Africa Democracy Radio, I am Sankule Janko reporting from Banjul.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is a guest.
Our guest interview this afternoon takes us back to Niger as the junta issues authorization to the Malian and Burkinabe armies to deploy troops in the country should ECOWAS consider the use of force to restore constitutional rule. The development was announced in a joint statement by the collaborating countries on Thursday after a meeting of foreign ministers of the trio in the Nigerian capital, Niamey, to discuss security cooperation and other joint issues. As questions of what informed that decision springs up, we are being joined by Adib Sani, an international relations expert.
So quite obviously, this is a strategy on the part of the military to deter ECOWAS from ever going the military intervention tangent. It also presupposes that any act of aggression by ECOWAS against Niger would amount to a sub-regional war, which many analysts, including myself, are so concerned about owing to the already dire economic situation a lot of ECOWAS citizens are. It is a show of force, and it puts the military junta in a stronger position to resist any intervention by the military. So it is not surprising, and I must say, from the scratch, the military has engaged in certain maneuvers that can only be described as strategic and putting them in a position of strength. One, by unifying all the military factions, the special forces, the regular army, and of course the presidential guard. Two, by appointing ministers, including an interim leader and even a cabinet. They have also engaged in massive recruitment of young men into the military. Just a few days ago, we saw the thousands of young Nigerians amassing the football stadium because they heard about recruitment ongoing. So surely all of this is a ploy to get ECOWAS to take off the military intervention off the table.
Right. The military juntas in both Mali, Burkina Faso, and even now Guinea have pledged their support for the military junta in Niger. Just like now, he is authorizing their military to be in the country for any ECOWAS intervention. So what is the link? Aside them taking over power through coup d'etats, what is the link between these people?
Well, I think it's a friendship of convenience, okay? By so coming together, they would make themselves stronger because if they are segmented, they are weak in the face of the sanctions that have been imposed on them. They have also been suspended from the regional and sub-regional groupings. So they are looking for new allies, new friends. That is why some of them have resorted to the Russians, who have been quite instrumental in their politics since, especially with Wadr in Burkina Faso and, of course, Mali. The third thing is they have a common enemy, which is France. So even your enemy's enemy becomes your friend. So that makes them, friends. And they have committed, like you mentioned, to resist any act of intervention in Niger. In their words, any military intervention in Niger would amount to a declaration of war.
Right. So as we round up the conversation, President Bola Tinubu has sent a delegation again, that is the Islamic clerics, back to Niger. What do you think informed this decision? So do you think this diplomatic talk that is about to take place in Niger would succeed this time?
I'm optimistic because there was anger in the beginning. ECOWAS had just imposed sanctions, had cut off power supply to Niger, and that incensed the coup leaders. So they were not willing to meet anyone. ECOWAS was also, saying certain things that presupposed they were ready to go to war and all that. So there was tensions all over, and I think that is what made things spiral out of control. But it's quite obvious that this time around, around, everybody's ready to listen to everybody. So I'm optimistic that the diplomatic bit to it would work. And that is the best way to go about it, because socio-economic and geopolitical ramifications of going in hard would be too bad for us. Ghana just got an IMF bailout. If not, our economy would have just collapsed. So with what money are we going to war? Ghana, according to the World Bank last year, close to 1 million people were pushed into poverty. Nigeria, as we speak, has the largest number of people living below the poverty line. Public debt over $100 billion. They are battling Boko Haram and Islamic State West Africa province. So already there are so many socio-economic and security issues. So if you open another front, I'm sure you might just be biting more than you can chew.
Atib Sani is an international relations expert. Sankule Janko joins us now with sports update.
Hello there, a warm welcome and thank you for joining us. Nigeria international goalkeeper Maduka Okoye has completed a permanent transfer to Italian Serie A club Udinese, according to Soccernet. The Italian Giants announced that the Super Eagles goalkeeper has officially joined the club for a 4-year contract with an undisclosed fee. Okoye left Eredivisie side Sparta Rotterdam last summer after 2 impressive seasons to join English Championship side Watford. The 23-year-old Nigerian, who was bought to replace former first-choice goalkeeper Ben Foster, failed to impress for a starting berth. Okoye did not play a single match in the Championship for Watford, having had just 2 appearances for the club in the FA Cup and the League Cup throughout last season. Still with the transfer news, English native Jawara, who played for the last 4 years at Stetson University, represented Mali at the CBI Championship semi-finals 2 years ago. And that's it for sports. It's back to you.
We have come to the end of this edition of NewsLink from West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to our listeners in the Gambia via Hot 104.3 FM and Numi FM 94.0 Banjul. In Liberia via Alternative Youth Radio 98.9 FM Lofa County. We also thank our listeners in Ghana on Radio Pod 95.1 Savannah Region and on Royals FM 104.7 Wenchi. Inyas Bilimu has been on the console, and many thanks to Mustafa Sek for the online stream. Do interact with us via social media platforms: X, formerly Twitter, Instagram at WADR News, and on Facebook, West Africa Democracy Radio English Service. I am Tawfiq Abdul Nasir. Good afternoon.
News, talk, music, get it all 24 hours on West Africa Democracy Radio 94.9